to day 7 of May Vlogs. I have completely failed to record anything sensible today. It's been a really busy day. It's been a good day, but just really busy. I did a big weekly food shop this morning, and that always kind of knocks the day out of order. I think because by the time I got it home, got it all cleaned, got it all put away, and then by that time I still need to get work done, I still need to get the kids sorted. Yeah, the day just kind of got away from me. So I haven't really recorded anything. But we've just put the kids to bed, although they are still awake up in their room. So if you can hear banging, it's the fact their bedroom is above me and they are currently jumping and playing around. But I just thought I would sit down and have a quick chat, and I was going to talk to you about Scrappy projects and Advent projects. I have had quite a few questions recently about what can be done with minis. I sell quite a lot of mini skeins through the shop. I love a mini skein. And if you watch my May vlogs the other day, you'll have seen there that I have a lot of mini skeins and a lot of scraps. They've kind of got out of control a little bit at the moment, but it's fine. A lot of the scraps and stuff that I have, I've done through sort of Scrappy swaps and mini skein swaps and things like that, where kind of you send a certain amount to somebody and yeah, they send it back. But yeah, I have quite a lot, and I absolutely love a Scrappy project. And obviously mini skeins don't always have to be scraps. So Scrappy projects, mini skein projects, there's kind of a good overlap there, if that makes sense. And there's also an overlap with advent calendars. And I had somebody ask me the other day if I could recommend a pattern for an advent calendar, and it kind of got me thinking about just Scrappy projects in general and mini skein projects in general. So I thought I would share a few of my kind of Scrappy projects or mini skein projects with you. It's not all of them. There are a few others. Like, for example, I'm wearing a pair of Scrappy socks today, and I've not brought down all of the Scrappy socks I've made because that would be a bit daft, but I have got a pair to share. There's also a couple of projects that I've gifted, so I can't really share those. But first of all, let's talk blankets. Now, blankets are an amazing Scrappy project, and one of the things that I've shared a lot recently is my Cozy Memories blanket, which is this one here that I'm currently working on. And this is made up of mitered squares, so it's a knitted project made up of mitered squares, and each square for me uses around 5 grams of yarn, so not a lot at all. I mean, mini skeins in general, when you purchase them, often come in 10 grams or 20 grams. There are some dyers now that are doing 5 gram Scrappy packs and things like that. In fact, Erin of Henny Penny Makes does 5 gram little bobbins, which are really good fun. But a lot of dyers will do 10 gram minis. I do 10 gram Scrappy packs, or obviously a lot of people do 20 grams. So, I mean, for these use 5 grams, these little squares. So you get quite a lot for a 10 gram mini. What am I trying to say? A 10 gram mini, a 20 gram mini? The yarn goes a long way. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, so that is one thing that I'm currently working on, blanket wise. Sorry, Tom's just wandered in. And then talking of other blankets, I've also been working on slowly a Battenberg blanket, which again is a similar concept. So the squares, this is a crochet project. The squares on this again use, I think they use around 5 grams again of yarn. And in fact, there are probably duplicates in here. So there's probably colourways in here that are also in my mitered square blanket. And then this one uses, you have a main colour, which you use all the way through as well. But that's a very good one for that. And I'm pretty sure actually that some of these first minis in here were part of an advent swap that I did, where you sent, it was like a Scrappy advent swap. So you sent somebody 24 5 gram, I believe, 24 5 gram minis, and they send you similar back. And that's what I started with that. So another use that you for an advent calendar or something like that. talking of advent calendar blankets, this year I got an advent calendar from Henny Penny Makes, Erin. We swapped actually, so she had one of mine and I had one of hers, and I made this little blanket out of her advent calendar, and her advent calendar was 24 10-gram mini skeins, which was perfect for just a little crocheted lap blanket. The kids love this and it gets so much use. So that is a possibility. I mean, if you're going for a 10-gram advent, something like this would work really nicely if you're a blanket lover like me. A 20-gram advent, obviously you could get a much bigger blanket if you wanted to do something like that. And then going back to sort of more scrappy things, but also something a lot of people do with advent calendars, more blankets still. This is a blanket that I've kind of finished. I didn't really finish it, I just stopped it at this size, but the kids love it and it's a good size for a lap blanket again. So this is a granny stripe blanket, again crocheted, and this is a pattern from Attic 24. I think I followed one of their tutorials on their blog. And a lot of people will use advent calendars, and each year they will add the advent minis into a granny stripe blanket, which is a really nice idea. I mean, I am tempted to start working on this again and make it bigger. Obviously, one of the nice things with this kind of crochet blanket is that that is possible. I can just, this is actually the beginning end, but I can just join the yarn on and work on it again and make it bigger if I wanted to. But yeah, again, another blanket possibility of something you could do with mini skeins, or something you could do with an advent, or something you could do with scraps. And then one big blanket that I finished, and this is scraps, and I also used an advent swap in this again, this is a double bed sized. I'm just trying to find the best way. It's obviously been unfolded for some reason. It's up in our office at the moment. So this is a giant crochet scrappy blanket. It's double bed sized. Each of the squares in this took 6 grams of yarn, which at the time I didn't, when I first started it, I was just using up my kind of sock yarn scraps, and then it didn't quite occur to me that 5-gram minis might not make a whole square. But I'm really happy with the end result. I just bordered it with a grey, and yeah, there's lots in here. And one of the things that's quite nice with Scrappy projects is there's lots of memories in them as well. So for example, with this one, this first colour here is the first pair of socks I ever knit. I knit out of this yarn, and this is a Bergère France yarn. Also in this blanket is probably one of the first, some of the first colours I ever dyed. Yeah, that is one of the first colours I ever dyed, and in fact that one was dyed with food colouring. So before I even used proper dyes. And then I've even got kind of, again, I made a pair of socks out of that one. What else have we got in here? These 2 rows here were an advent swap. That was the first advent swap I ever did. And I added them all into this blanket throughout the advent period. And it's always quite nice to look back at that. Oh, that one, that's quite nice. Again, that one was dyed with food colouring, I'm pretty sure. Although maybe not, no, I think it was. It might have been, I don't know, I can't remember. But that colourway was one of my very, very early colourways with the shop. And I called it Arty because Arthur's favourite colour is purple. So yeah, again, a really good kind of scrappy project with lots of memories crocheted into it. And it is, yeah, it's massive. This is actually what you see quite often when I'm doing the podcast. It's usually on the sofa behind me. Yeah, so blankets. I nearly talked for 10 minutes about blankets, but if you watch my podcast regularly, you'll know that I have a big love of blankets. But of course, there's more than just blankets that you can do. One of the big kind of things that I really like to do with scraps or minis in particular, I like doing it with mini skein bundles that are kind of themed together, is Scrappy socks. So these ones were a set that was a collaboration between West Green Loft Yarns and Down Sheepy Lane, and it was a Halloween themed set. And yeah, Scrappy socks. They're just really fun. It's great when the colours go together, but to be fair, it's just as much fun when the colours are kind of high contrast or busy or just lots and lots of fun. I tend to do 10 rows in each colour and it works really, really nicely. So that's a great idea for using up scraps or using mini skein bundles. And then Advents. One of the things that I did this year over Christmas is I had an advent calendar from Spectrum Fibres, and there are numerous shawl patterns designed specifically for advent calendars. This one is what I chose to do. This is the Dust of Snow wrap by Helen Stewart, Curious Handmade, and this is designed for 24 20-gram mini skeins. You need about 14 grams for each section, so you do have a little bit of leftovers. And you just follow the advent in order. So as you open the advent, you do a day each. And Bryony's advent last year was a fade, so it worked really beautifully, adding the colours in each day. And again, there's lots and lots of patterns that works for. My advent calendar last year came with a pattern by Brixton Pearl, the Giddy About Advent wrap. And again, that one was designed for 10-gram minis. So each sort of section of the shawl used a 10-gram mini skein, and each day you opened your advent calendar and you added them in. And there are numerous advent patterns out there as well. What I'm going to do in the next week, hopefully, maybe not this week, we'll see how it goes, is I'm going to sort out a Ravelry bundle, which I will link eventually, not straight away. Once I've done it, I'll link it below this video, so if you're watching this video later, you'll be able to find it. But I'll share it on various social medias as well, with a list of different advent patterns, in case people are curious as to what you can do with an advent calendar, or even just generally with mini skeins. And then the final thing that I am doing with all of my tiny, tiny, tiny scraps is I am knitting this scarf. So this is a pattern called Find Your Own Direction, by Erin of Henny Penny Makes, and each little section of this scarf uses about 2 to 3 grams of yarn. So like the tiniest little scraps of scraps that you have left over, and it's just really, really fun, and it's going to make such a lovely colourful scarf. I really need to work on this more, because I do really, really enjoy it. But that is a great pattern for using up those tiny little scraps. And I mean, if you didn't have as little scraps, you could do, say, 3 repeats in each colour, and kind of stripe it a bit more like that. You could do longer sections. But yeah, I like to get the most out of my yarn. So if I can get a yarn, a colourway or a mini skein into multiple projects, then I will. The majority of the time, one mini skein, goodness knows whatever weight, but it will do, it will go in my Cozy Memories blanket, it will do a square in my Battenberg blanket, it will go into this, and then I'm also putting the ends and ends of those scraps into magic knot balls, which will eventually get used in another big crochet blanket. So yeah. Mini skeins and scraps have lots of uses. I hope that was even slightly useful. I don't know. I know many of you probably already love scrappy projects. So maybe comment down below for me what your favourite scrappy projects are, and if you can give me any ideas as well of shawls and things or scrappy projects that I might not have heard of, then I'll add them to the Ravelry bundle, so that people can find them. Anyway, a bit different for a May Vlogs day. I know, not quite your daily vlog of what's going on in our life, but things got away from me today and I still wanted to put a video up for you. So I hope you enjoyed my little scrappy tour, I guess, as such. Anyway, I am now going to go and get a drink. I am going to go and tell Arthur that it's time to turn his lights out and go to sleep. And then we are going to settle down for the evening and probably put some trashy TV on and hopefully get some knitting out. See you all tomorrow. Bye!